still leading with 34. Louisville second, but look what Virginia has done. They move from near the bottom all the way up to the number 3 spot. Again, the body of work still very early, mainly based on the field events, last night's DMR, but Duke, your early leader, the Blue Devils, with 34.
Keeping you up quickly on the pole vault, 3 athletes are over the bar at 17 feet in the men's pole vault, and it's still underway.
Sam Young was the most recent. He just cleared his last attempt. So Young of Virginia, Rice of Virginia Tech, Crum of Notre Dame, the remaining 3 in the men's pole vault. 5,000 meter finals, first of 2.
And the crowd starts getting revved up. You can hear them up in the balconies here, and plenty to cheer for. Notre Dame has several athletes in this competition, but Peter Seufer may well be the man to beat here. He has run the number 6 collegiate time in the country at 13:36 for 5,000 meters. And when I rough out the math, that's about a 4-minute 22-second per mile time for 3.1 miles. Just outstanding stuff. He has had a brilliant senior year.
Peter Monahan, Matthew Carmody, the early leaders in the men's 5,000. Monahan, the junior from Massachusetts, who was an all-ACC performer, second-team selection last year in the 10,000 meters. His teammate Carmody from Des Moines, Iowa, Dowling Catholic, a perennial power in track and field back in the Hawkeye State. He took second on 3 different occasions at the Iowa State meet, cross country plus the 2-mile. And also the 5K. So Notre Dame with the early touch. Carmody, Monahan, and Alexander 1, 2, and 4. Ari KLAU in the number 3 spot for the Cavs.
No wonder the crowd's cheering with 2 Irishmen right up there. Actually 3 in a row at this point now.
Carmody, the leader, comes from a big family. He has 5 brothers: Tom, John, Joe, James, David, plus his sister. His brother John swims at Washington and Lee College. His brother Joe runs there as well. An athletic family in the Midwest. Carmody landing in South Bend. He's the early pace setter for Notre Dame, and the Irish with Alexander making his way up into the 2 spot. Notre Dame going 1, 2, 3 early.
You know, I tip my hat. I was a distance runner myself and put in the miles consistently, you know, for 4 years, including summers. And when I talk to the coaches here now, here's the general routine. School gets out, let's say June 1st, sometimes earlier, and they may give these athletes a few weeks off to take a break. There are a couple of colleges that say, take 3 weeks off, but do it this way. Run every 3rd day for maybe 20 to 30 minutes at a moderately strong pace. Don't really kill it, but don't just go at 8 minutes a mile. That will help keep your fitness up, as opposed to taking 3 full weeks off. There's just kind of a general rule out there that if you take 3 weeks off, it takes you about 5 or 6 weeks after that to get back to where you were if you're injured or take some time off. So they use that to try and stay fit. Then they get into a build-up again, beginning in July for cross country. So you really don't get a summer off, as in some different events in track and field you do. The effort of stamina here goes almost year-round. And Peter Seufer had an interview where he talked all about that. That's exactly what he did. He accepted a job in finance, did Seufer, in this race, and he will emerge here from this pack at some point in time. But he took and accepted a job in finance, which he hopes to go into when he graduates in New York City. And he said, not exactly a mecca for distance running. And just to pass this on at the 1,600 meter mark, let's call it the mile mark, 4:35.5 for the first mile. Very solid pace. So he worked in New York City and boosted his mileage over the course of the summer from 60 to 70 and 80 miles a week. And then decided, my senior year's coming up, I am going to be tenacious and tough. And he did a lot of hill work back at Virginia, really focused on it, and had a spectacular cross-country season.
And with modern technology and the new era of training, you bring up a couple of interesting points. Where do you feel the distance training has changed the most, say, from a couple of decades ago to these athletes today, or has it?
No, the big change came in the 50s, the 1950s and early 60s. One of the great coaches we've ever had in this country is a guy named Bill Squires, who coached Greg Meyer as a great marathoner, Bill Rogers, the list goes on. And I had a lengthy conversation with him when he was at Notre Dame. Was a highly recruited athlete, excuse me, and decided to come out here, and the coach just had him do low mileage. And he said, I didn't have the stamina that I learned is so important. Arthur Lydiard, a New Zealand coach, changed everything. He had his New Zealand distance runners put in high mileage of 70 miles to 100 miles a week. They won Olympic medals at 1,500 meters, the 800 meters, the 5K, the marathon. Then the word spread. The great Bill Bauman, one of the founders of Nike, said, I got to figure out what's going on. And he went down at the Olympics and spent time with Lydiard and said, what are you doing to win so many Olympic medals from a country with 4 million people? And he told everybody what he did. He came back, and I talked to guys on his team in the 60s. And they said the year he came back from talking with the Olympic coach Lydiard, he said, our mileage doubled every week. And then it was on, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Mileage, everything changed. Athletes today found out that the human body can handle a hard pace of workouts every single week with a certain amount of rest and speed work mixed in, and the times have plummeted ever since. They learned that altitude training makes a huge difference. What does huge mean? 2 or 3% maybe in a distance race or a marathon, but that's significant. That's minutes off your time. So all these athletes practice this type of training. Some don't do as high a mileage, and 800-meter athletes don't, and some milers don't, but their mileage is still significant at 50 to 70 miles a week, and maybe higher.
Notre Dame continues to rotate up top. Danny KILREA has jumped into the top spot for the first time. CARMODY 2, Alexander 3. Ari KLAU has not maneuvered anywhere. He has stayed in that number 4 spot. Peter Monahan starting to slide back a little bit. You mentioned Peter Seufer, Virginia Tech, one of the favorites. As we go a little bit deeper into this 5,000, what should we start to look for from Seufer? When does he start to make his move?
Total guess here. This is all planned by Coach Sean Carlson of Notre Dame to have the athletes work together, rotate. If you're in Kenya, you have a term for this called harumba, which means working together for the common good. And that's exactly what these 4 Notre Dame athletes are doing. The pace is solid off 4:35. They're coming up to what we would call a 2-mile. And just doing some quick math, they are running faster here than they were on the early pace. So we'll see what, Seufer right now is in 3rd. He is the tallest athlete in this field easily at over 6 feet 2 inches tall. He is a big guy and has an amazing cardiovascular system to be that big and be a great distance runner as he is. But I think as long as the pace is reasonably solid, he'll let these guys do a lot of work. There's another 4 minutes or so left in the race, 5 minutes left in the race. Another
Great big distance runner. You talk about the size of Seufer. The other tall runner from Syracuse is Joe Dragon. He's about 6'3". He's in the middle of the pack right now. You know he is going to make a move, and This is an Orange program throughout the years who has dominated cross country. That has been their sport. They have produced talent at the elite level throughout the past few seasons. Justin Knight, nobody bigger than him as far as distance goes and the success he enjoyed. The Orange have a tradition in these long distance races, and guys like Joe Dragon are here to try to keep that torch lit.
Only 2 athletes in the field have dipped under 14 minutes in this indoor season. One of them is on your screen right now from Virginia Tech, way under 14 minutes, 13:36. And when you strip out the math for that, that's like a, he's motioning to the guy in Virginia, don't clip my heels when he reached back and went like that. It meant back off, buddy.
The blood boils over Virginia Tech, right?
Some guys, yeah, I guess, you know, but he's just saying to the guy, give me a little room, you don't have to be this close. But long story short, he is the dominant player based on the early season. And Dragon, by the way, to your point, has run 13 minutes and 59 seconds. And you can subtract about 30 seconds off this, and that's what you're running for 3 miles. So the class of the field is definitely the man who has taken the lead right now, and had a great career. He was a 4:12 high school miler, showed great ability in high school, and has continued to run brilliantly down at Virginia Tech.
Seufer with the lead for Virginia Tech. The Hokie moving into the top spot. CARMODY, who has been in that top 4 the entire race, settling in at number 2. We have a new addition in Georgia Tech as they have brought Kent up into the party. We approach 3 laps to go. And it is Seufer with the lead for the Hokies. CARMODY in the number 2 spot.
Now you notice the field stringing out a bit. However, there are a host of runners up there. Probably the cluster right behind Seufer have all run around 14 minutes to 14 minutes and 10 seconds. Based on what they've done this indoor season, that's why they're all clustered. We'll have to see who's got something left here. I would imagine with a lap or 2 to go, somewhere here in the next 30 or 40 seconds, you will see Seufer start to step on the accelerator a little bit and try and put some distance between these guys.
Seufer has won the last 2 ACC cross-country championships, 2 straight titles for Peter Seufer. Last year in Boston, he won it by less than a second. This past year, an eye-popping 39 seconds, separated from the pack. First member of the Tech cross-country program to win 2 individual league titles since back in the late 50s, early 60s.
This year he went out and dominated at the ACC cross-country championships and said just before the NCAAs to himself, you know, the NCAAs are going to be tough, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go out and set a very hard pace in this 6.2-mile race, which is awfully long when you're 6'3". Lighter guys do better. And he wound up 4th overall, but came away and said, I was really pleased. Here's what you have to worry about when the pace is moderate. You may still win this race big time, but you've got a guy shadowing you, and you may not know how much of a sprint kick he's got. But he's hanging on for you, and so far there's no break here.
Bell lap, and right now it's Seufer. FACIONI of Wake Forest has moved into the 3 spot. CARMODY sitting in the 2. And this Notre Dame crowd on that backstretch trying to get their Irish into the mix. Can he run down Seufer as they approach the final 150? Seufer, the seasoned veteran, not giving an inch though.
Well, he's confident in his ability. He's so much better based on what he's done this year by 20 seconds, 25 seconds. He just said it's time to go, and look at him move.
Into the final few steps, Seufer, Virginia Tech, another ACC title. CARMODY, second of Notre Dame. FACIONI of Wake settles for the bronze.
.58, excuse me, works out to almost exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds per mile for 3 separate miles. So the pace after the first mile of a 4:35 picked up measurably. The next 2 miles averaged 4:28 for the guys. A very solid time. Congratulations on another championship. Peter Seufer, you've had a great career down at Virginia Tech.
Matthew Carmody, the sophomore for Notre Dame, ends up with the ACC silver. And then FACIONI, who we really didn't mention a lot, he was in that middle of the pack. He was able to make a move, hold off Dragon of Syracuse to earn the number 3 spot.